All right, folks, buckle up because today we're diving into the 1892 Morgan silver dollar, a coin that has seen the Wild West, economic shifts, and the rise of modern America. If you've ever held one of these beauties in your hands, you know there's something magical about them. But even if you haven't, don't worry. I'm about to take you on a journey that will make you feel like you just pulled one out of a dusty old treasure chest. Now imagine this. It's the year 1892. The United States is booming with industry. The Old West is still alive, and silver dollars are circulating through saloons, banks, and poker tables. But not just any silver dollars. The Morgan silver dollar is king. Named after its designer, George T. Morgan, this coin has become one of the most iconic pieces of American currency. And the 1892 edition? Oh, that one is something special. So what makes this coin stand out? Why are collectors willing to pay thousands for certain versions of it? And how can you tell if you have a rare one sitting in your collection? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the 1892 Morgan silver dollar is a true gem in the world of numismatics. Before we get into the 1892 version, let's rewind a bit. The Morgan silver dollar series started in 1878, replacing the older seated Liberty dollar. Why the change? Well, let's just say politics and silver mining had a lot to do with it. The Bland-Allison Act of 1878 required the U.S. Treasury to purchase large amounts of silver and turn them into coins. This led to the birth of the Morgan dollar, named after its designer, George T. Morgan, an English engraver who worked for the U.S. Mint. His design? Absolutely stunning. On the front, you've got Lady Liberty, modeled after Anna Willis Williams, a Philadelphia schoolteacher. On the back, there's a majestic bald eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing both strength and peace. These coins were big, heavy, and made of 90% silver. They weren't just currency, they were a statement. Imagine cowboys, gamblers, and businessmen carrying these silver dollars in their pockets. They were more than just money. They represented power, trade, and prosperity in a growing America. Now, fast forward to 1892. By this time, Morgan dollars had been in production for 14 years. The excitement of their early years had settled, but they were still an essential part of American commerce. For different mints struck the 1892 Morgan dollar: Philadelphia, New Orleans, San Francisco, and Carson City. Each one has its own story, and some are rarer than others. The Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark, produced a significant number of these coins. The New Orleans Mint, marked with an O, also contributed a good amount. The San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, made fewer, but the real star of the show was the Carson City Mint. The famous CC Mint mark makes those coins some of the most valuable today. Carson City was a legendary mint, producing coins in the heart of Silver Country, Nevada. But by 1892, the mint was nearing its end. The government shut it down in 1893, making 1892 one of the last years for Carson City Morgan dollars. That's why if you find an 1892 CC in good condition, you're holding on to a serious piece of history. Condition plays a massive role in value. Most Morgan dollars from 1892 were used in everyday transactions, meaning they got plenty of wear and tear. But if you find one in mint condition, or even better, a proof coin, you're looking at serious money. Proof versions were made specifically for collectors. These weren't just regular coins. They were struck with special dies that gave them extra sharp details and a stunning mirror-like finish. Very few proof 1892 Morgan dollars exist today, making them a rare collector's dream. Errors in die varieties also play a role in the value of an 1892 Morgan dollar. Sometimes minor differences in the minting process created variations that are highly sought after. Double dies, repunch mint marks, and other small quirks can make a huge difference in a coin's value. So, how much are these coins worth today? Well, it depends on the condition and mint mark. A heavily worn 1892 Morgan might only fetch around $50, but a high-grade Carson City version? We're talking thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. Proof versions and rare error coins can go even higher. Collectors love Morgan dollars because they're more than just old money. They tell a story. Each scratch, each mark, and each mint variation is a glimpse into history. Some of these coins may have passed through the hands of miners, traders, or even outlaws. If you ever come across an 1892 Morgan silver dollar, take a closer look. Check the mint mark, examine the condition, and maybe, just maybe, you'll discover a rare treasure hiding in plain sight. Now, let's talk about something that makes the 1892 Morgan silver dollar even more fascinating: its role in American history. By the time these coins were minted, the U.S. was going through some major changes. The Old West was slowly fading. Cities were growing, and the country was shifting toward a more industrialized economy. But silver dollars? They were still a symbol of power, trade, and prosperity. Imagine walking into a saloon in the late 1800s. A gambler throws an 1892 Morgan silver dollar onto the poker table, its heavy silver clinking against a wooden surface. That same coin could have been used to buy a meal, a train ticket, or even a night's stay at a local inn. This was real money, made of solid silver, with a design that still turns heads today. The thing about Morgan dollars is that they weren't always popular. In fact, a lot of them just sat in treasury vaults and used for decades. The government had minted so many silver dollars that there were more than people actually needed. Instead of circulating, a huge number of these coins were stored away in bags, untouched. This is part of what makes some Morgan dollars so rare today. Many were melted down later, reducing the total supply. One of the most exciting things about the 1892 Morgan silver dollar is its different mint locations. If you're lucky enough to find one, the first thing you should do is check the mint mark, which is located on the reverse side, just above the letters D and O in dollar. Each mint played a unique role in American coinage history. The Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark, produced over 1 million 1892 Morgan dollars. These coins are more common compared to the others, but high-grade versions still fetch a premium. The New Orleans Mint, marked with an O, struck a similar amount of coins. New Orleans was an important hub for trade, and its coins often show signs of heavy use because they circulated more widely. The San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, made fewer 1892 Morgan dollars because of the smaller production numbers. These coins are a bit harder to find in top condition. Then there's a legendary Carson City Mint with the famous CC Mint mark. Carson City was located in Nevada, right in the heart of silver mining country. The coins struck there were special, not just because of their quality, but because they represented the silver rush era. In 1892, Carson City only minted around 1.3 million Morgan dollars, and by 1893, the mint shut down. That makes the 1892 CC Morgan dollar one of the most sought-after pieces in the series. If you happen to own one of these coins, take a closer look. Coins in worn condition are still valuable, but those in mint condition, that's where things get really exciting. A well-preserved 1892 Morgan dollar can sell for hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And if you've got a proof version, you might be holding on to a small fortune. One thing collectors love about Morgan dollars is their sheer size and weight. These coins are big, solid pieces of American history, made from 90% silver and 10% copper. That means they contain about 0.7734 troy ounces of pure silver. Even in poor condition, they'll always have intrinsic value because of their silver content. Some collectors focus on error coins, those small, unexpected mistakes that happen during the minting process. The 1892 Morgan silver dollar has a few interesting varieties, including repunched mint marks and slight doubling in the lettering. These tiny details might not seem like a big deal, but to serious collectors, they can mean the difference between a regular coin and one worth thousands. What's really amazing is how these coins have survived over 130 years. Some have been passed down through generations, while others were hidden away in bank vaults. In the 1960s, when the U.S. government released a massive hoard of old silver dollars from storage, collectors and dealers rushed to grab as many as they could. That's why some Morgan dollars are still in pristine condition today, despite being over a century old. Holding an 1892 Morgan silver dollar isn't just about owning an old coin. It's about owning a piece of American history, one that has witnessed the changing tides of an era. From saloons and train stations to collector showcases, This coin has had a journey like no other. If you got one of these in your collection, cherish it. And if you ever come across one, take a moment to appreciate its story. Because every scratch, every worn edge, and every tiny detail is a reminder of a time when silver dollars ruled the land. One of the most fascinating things about the 1892 Morgan silver dollar is its connection to the silver boom and bust cycles of the late 19th century. During this time, silver mining was a huge industry, especially in states like Nevada and Colorado. The discovery of massive silver deposits, particularly at the famous Comstock lode, led to an oversupply of silver in the market. This created political battles over whether the U.S. government should keep producing silver dollars in such large quantities. The Morgan silver dollar itself was born out of the Bland-Allison Act of 1878, which required the U.S. Treasury to buy large amounts of silver and convert it into coins. But by 1892, tensions were rising over whether silver should continue to be used as a standard for money. There was a fierce debate between those who supported the gold standard, meaning only gold-backed currency, and those who wanted bimetallism, which meant using both gold and silver. This debate played a huge role in the economy at the time. Farmers and working-class Americans wanted silver to be used alongside gold because it increased the money supply, making it easier to pay off debts. But bankers and big business leaders preferred the gold standard, which kept the currency more stable. The 1892 Morgan silver dollar was minted right in the middle of this battle, making it a symbol of one of the biggest financial debates in American history. Another interesting aspect of the 1892 Morgan dollar is its role in everyday life. Unlike some later silver dollars, which sat in vaults for decades, many 1892 Morgans actually circulated. These coins were used for transactions all over the country, from small-town general stores to big city banks. Some even made their way across the ocean, as American silver dollars were sometimes used in international trade. Think about the hands that an 1892 Morgan silver dollar might have passed through. It could have been carried by a cowboy traveling west, used by a merchant in a bustling city, or even played a part in a high-stakes poker game. These coins were real money, not just collectibles, and that's part of what makes them so special today. Even though millions of Morgan dollars were minted, many were later melted down. This happened during different periods in history, but one of the biggest losses came after the Pittman Act of 1918. This law required the U.S. government to melt down millions of silver dollars to support Britain's war effort during World War I. As a result, countless Morgan dollars, including many from 1892, were destroyed. That's why finding an 1892 Morgan silver dollar in good condition today can be a challenge. The ones that survived in high grades are rare, and collectors are willing to pay big money for them. Coins that have been well preserved, especially those that still have their original mint luster, can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. One of the best ways to tell if an 1892 Morgan silver dollar is valuable is by looking at its grade. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC use a scale from 1 to 70 to determine a coin's condition. A heavily worn coin might grade fine F12 or very fine VF20, while a nearly perfect, uncirculated coin could be graded mint state MS60 or higher. The highest quality 1892 Morgans are incredibly rare. A mint state 65, MS65, or a better example, could be worth thousands, especially if it has a Carson City mint mark. And proof versions? Those are even more valuable, as they were made specifically for collectors, and only a handful still exist today. Another thing collectors look for is toning, the natural coloration that silver coins develop over time. Some Morgans take on beautiful blue, gold, or rainbow-colored toning, which can actually increase their value. Others might have dull or spotted surfaces, which can lower their appeal to collectors. If you ever come across an 1892 Morgan silver dollar, take a moment to examine it closely. Look at the mint mark, check the level of detail in the design, and see if it has any special features that might make it more valuable. Even a common, circulated 1892 Morgan is worth far more than its silver content, because each one is a little piece of American history. What makes these coins so incredible isn't just their silver content or rarity. It's the fact that they were part of a world so different from today. These coins existed in an era before cars, before airplanes, before modern technology. They were carried by people who lived in a time of expansion, change, and opportunity. Owning one is like holding a piece of that past, a tangible link to a world long gone but never forgotten. One of the most exciting things about the 1892 Morgan silver dollar is the sheer beauty of its design. This coin isn't just a piece of money. It's a work of art. Designed by George T. Morgan, the Morgan dollar features one of the most iconic images in American coinage history. The obverse side showcases Lady Liberty, but not in the traditional Greek or Roman style used on earlier coins. Morgan wanted a fresh, modern representation of liberty, so he based his design on Anna Willis Williams, a Philadelphia schoolteacher who modeled for him. Unlike previous depictions of liberty, which often looked like mythological goddesses, Morgan's Liberty had a more realistic and American appearance, making her instantly recognizable. Her profile is strong and confident, with soft curls cascading down her neck. She wears a Phrygian cap, a symbol of freedom, adorned with a ribbon inscribed Liberty. Above her head, 13 stars represent the original 13 colonies, a reminder of America's roots. The detail in her hair, the texture of the cotton and wheat in her crown. Every element of the design was carefully crafted to make this coin a masterpiece. Flipping the coin over, the reverse features a majestic American bald eagle with its wings spread wide. The eagle clutches an olive branch in one talon, symbolizing peace, and a bundle of arrows in the other, representing strength and readiness for defense. Surrounding the eagle are the words United States of America and $1, with the famous phrase, "I in God we trust," placed just above the bird's head. The intricate details of the feathers, the curve of the wings, and the balanced composition of the design make the Morgan dollar one of the most visually appealing coins ever minted. It's no surprise that even today, collectors and investors continue to seek out these coins, not just for their silver content, but for their sheer artistic beauty. But there's something else that makes the 1892 Morgan silver dollar special: the way it feels in your hand. Unlike modern coins, which are often made from base metals, the Morgan dollar has real weight to it. At 38.1 millimeters in diameter and weighing 26.73 grams, it has a presence that modern coins simply can't match. The thickness, the reeded edges, the cool touch of silver. Holding one is like stepping back in time. Over the years, many of these coins have developed unique characteristics due to how they were stored and handled. Some show signs of wear from decades of circulation, while others remained untouched in treasury vaults for years. Coins that were stored in canvas bags often develop bag marks, small dings and scratches from being jostled around with other coins. Others were kept in paper rolls or collectors' albums, preserving their original mint luster. One of the most sought-after versions of the 1892 Morgan silver dollar is the proof strike. Unlike regular circulation coins, proof coins were specially made for collectors and struck with polished dies, giving them a mirror-like finish. These coins were never meant for everyday use, and only a small number were produced. Today, an 1892 proof Morgan silver dollar in high grade is an incredibly rare find and can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. Another thing that makes this coin so appealing is its connection to the Wild West. By 1892, the frontier was still alive, but things were beginning to change. Towns were growing, railroads were expanding, and the old ways of the Wild West were slowly fading. But silver dollars? They were still part of daily life, used by cowboys, miners, and merchants across the country. Picture a prospector in Nevada, fresh from the silver mines, flipping an 1892 Morgan dollar onto the bar to pay for a drink. Or imagine a gambler in a saloon, nervously stacking his silver dollars in front of him as he watches the poker game unfold. These coins were part of real moments in American history, moments filled with risk, excitement, and opportunity. Even today, the 1892 Morgan silver dollar carries that same sense of adventure. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who loves history, owning one of these coins is like owning a piece of the past. Every scratch, every worn edge, every bit of toning tells a story of a time when silver was king and the American spirit was unstoppable. Another fascinating aspect of the 1892 Morgan silver dollar is its connection to the great U.S. mint locations of time. Unlike modern coins that are produced in just a few places, Morgan dollars were struck at multiple mints, each with its own story and level of rarity. For collectors, the mint mark on an 1892 Morgan can make all the difference between a common coin and a highly valuable treasure. The 1892 Morgan silver dollar was minted at 4 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; New Orleans, O mint mark; San Francisco, S mint mark; Carson City, CC mint mark. Among these, the Carson City CC Morgan is the rarest and most sought after. The Carson City Mint, located in Nevada, was established to process the vast amounts of silver coming from the famous Comstock lode. However, by 1892, the demand for silver coins was declining, and the Carson City Mint was producing fewer coins. This meant that only 1.3 million 1892 CC Morgans were struck, a small number compared to other mint locations. Because of this low mintage, finding a well-preserved 1892 CC Morgan silver dollar today is incredibly difficult. Many of these coins were heavily circulated, making high-grade examples extremely valuable. Even in worn condition, an 1892 CC Morgan can fetch a hefty price, and in uncirculated condition, it can be worth thousands of dollars. The San Francisco S Mint also produced a relatively low number of 1892 Morgan dollars, with just 1.2 million struck. San Francisco was known for producing coins with sharp details and high-quality strikes, making the 1892 S. Morgan a favorite among collectors. However, many of these coins were used in everyday transactions, which means finding one in pristine condition is rare. The New Orleans O Mint, on the other hand, produced a much larger number, 2.7 million coins. New Orleans was a major hub for commerce, and Morgan dollars from this mint were widely used in the southern and central United States. While they are not as rare as the Carson City or San Francisco versions, finding an 1892 O Morgan in top condition can still be a challenge. Finally, the Philadelphia no mint mark Morgan silver dollar had the highest mintage of the year, with over 1 million struck. Because these coins were produced at the main U.S. Mint, they tend to be more common in higher grades, but that doesn't mean they aren't valuable. A well-preserved Philadelphia Morgan from 1892 can still fetch a significant price, especially if it has strong luster and minimal wear. What makes mint marks so important is that they tell a unique story about where the coin came from and what was happening in that region at the time. A Carson City Morgan, for example, represents the wild silver boom of the West, while a New Orleans Morgan is tied to the bustling trade and economy of the South. Collectors love the idea that each mint location gives the coin a different historical background. Another reason mint marks matter is that they affect a coin's survival rate. Some mints, like Carson City, produce fewer coins to begin with, making those versions rare today. Others, like New Orleans, struck more coins, but many of them were lost, melted down, or heavily circulated, reducing the number of surviving high-quality examples. Imagine the journey an 1892 Morgan silver dollar has taken over the past century. Some of these coins were used in daily transactions, passing through countless hands, buying goods, paying wages, and even being used in saloons and gambling halls. Others sat in treasury vaults for decades, untouched, until they were eventually released to collectors. In fact, a significant number of Morgan dollars, including some from 1892, were part of the great treasury hoard discovered in the 1960s. These coins have been stored in government vaults for decades and were finally released to the public. This discovery sent shockwaves through the coin-collecting world, as previously rare dates suddenly became available in uncirculated condition. However, the 1892 Carson City Morgan was not part of this hoard, making it even rarer and more desirable. For collectors today, mint marks are one of the key factors in determining an 1892 Morgan silver dollar's value. A common Philadelphia example in fine condition might sell for a few $100s, while a Carson City version in mint state could easily be worth thousands. The condition, strike quality, and even the coin's toning all play a role in how much collectors are willing to pay. Holding an 1892 Morgan silver dollar is like holding a piece of history in your hand. The weight, the design, the mint mark, all of these details connect you to a time when silver was king and America was rapidly expanding. It's more than just a coin. It's a reminder of the past, a symbol of an era, and a treasure that collectors will always seek.